Hello, so in this tutorial what I'm going to be showing you how to do is how to create simple line drawings using Illustrator. I'm just going to be using some of the basic Illustrator tools, and then I'm going to show you how to do some basic image traces and stuff like that. So hopefully this should take about 20 minutes. I'm going to start off with a new page. I'm going to call it line and A4 will do. Okay, so there's a sheet of paper. Now, first of all, some of the basic tools that we'll need in Illustrator. We have a Layers tab here. When you come to use Photoshop, or if you've used Photoshop already, you'll know that Layers is something that's quite commonly used in Photoshop. We're going to use this, maybe not quite as much as we would do in Photoshop, but it's there, we will need it. And we're going to need an image that we're going to work with. But before I get that image, let's just show you some of the basic tools. So this is the paintbrush tool. It's currently set on a 1-point straight line. If I just use the mouse, so you can draw lines. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that Illustrator is quite good at smoothing out lines. So if I wiggle the mouse deliberately, it'll smooth that out and make it curvy. Now we have two selection tools. We have a direct selection tool, which if I click it on a line, it selects that single line and gives me these little path handles that lets me manipulate that line and bend it and shape it where I want that to be. Or I've got the normal selection tool, which creates a box around it, and it's just like in PowerPoint or something like that, where I can delete an object. I can multiple select a group of objects and delete them all in one go. So that's pretty much the only tool I'm going to use in this tutorial. There are basic straight line tools, which again you can just delete, and we've got the pen tool that will let you draw specific objects. If you click and hold, you can draw curves. They may come into what we do as well, but I'm mainly going to focus on the paintbrush. Okay, so let's select that, delete it. So, paintbrush tool. We only have a few basic options in default Illustrator. There are ways to get lots and lots of brushes, and in another tutorial I'll show you how to get custom brushes into Illustrator for doing fancy things. But we'll just stick with this line for now, which is kind of a nice sort of sketch line. Okay, so that's what we're going to use. Now, if you're any good at drawing, we don't need to trace an image at all. We could just try and do something like, say, a face. So I'm only using the mouse here, I'm not using a graphics tablet, so this won't be as good as if I was actually using a tablet, but we'll see what we can do. Just drawing some lines to create something forward. Face. So you can see you can do something quite fun fairly simply just using the line tool. Now I appreciate not everybody is going to be artistic and want to do things that way, so I'll show you another technique, which is to just grab an image and then we'll trace it using that same tool. So I'm going to switch to Google, and I've already loaded up my favourite art site, DeviantArt, and I've just done a little search for puppies, and let's pick a cutie pie. So let's have this guy. So I'm going to copy this image. In fact, I'm going to save this image. I'll just save it to my desktop. Okay. Then I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to open that image. There we go. I'm going to select it. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it back into my line drawings. There we go. Now I'm going to create a new layer over the top. So we've now got the layer with the puppy in, which which I can switch off and on. Got the layer that we're going to put our drawing in, and then we're going to make sure our paintbrush is set correctly with black. There's our lines. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is reduce the opacity of this picture. So I'm just going to set the opacity at selected 20%, maybe 30%. Okay, so on layer 1 I've got my picture of the puppy and I've turned its opacity here down to 30%. Switch to layer 2, go to my paintbrush tool, got lines that I can draw with, so I might need to zoom in. So Control plus will zoom you in, and then carefully making sure we're still on layer 2, we've still got the brush selected. We can now, I might actually make that a little bit thinner. Just trace some of the key lines. Illustrator's really forgiving with steadiness of the hand, as long as you get it more or less right. That's right. If you get it more or less right, it's for you. So we'll just see where we see lines. Control Z to delete if you make a mistake. Terribly neat with this. This is just to really show you. Head. Oh, it's such a cutie. Do the ears. Hide the base layer, and we've got a little basic line drawing. It's not fantastic, but for your portfolio, if you did a couple of line drawings like that, it'll be fine. Okay. You can go further and you can do fills and all kinds of fancy stuff like that, but really that would suffice as a basic line drawing. You'd probably need 2 or 3 of those done from different pictures. Okay, so that is line drawings. If you do need to tweak, obviously, if you do need to tweak anything, you can just pick an individual line and you can adjust that however you want. Okay, what you can't do is fill those areas, because what we've done is we've just created a series of lines. There's no objects there to fill. So if you wanted to fill an area with colour, what you would actually need to do is create another layer, doing this underneath, use the pen tool, and then I'm going to trace the main shape here. Making sure that the first and last lines connect to make an object, and I should to fill that with a colour. So the direct selection tool to pull your lines around and get those lines where you want them to be. It's a bit fiddly, but it can be done. So obviously you could then create more objects with more colours and gradually build up your image. Okay. So there's a little tutorial on line drawings. Nothing more complicated than this will do. Obviously it should be a bit tidier than mine, spend a little bit of time on it and a bit of quality on there, but that would do the job. Okay, and I'll see you in the next tutorial where we'll be looking at charts and graphs.